That's awesome.
All right, we are recording. Go ahead, Ken.
Good morning or good afternoon. And we are here today to discuss evolutionary awe. There we are. Only in recent years has the experience and evolution of awe received serious attention in the academic world. Researchers agree that awe is not one of the six primary emotions, anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, and surprise, but rather a more complex secondary emotion. Often has distinctive physical signs, widening eyes, a dropped jaw, goosebumps, and the instinctive wow. So, what is awe? Groundbreaking work by Dr. Keltner and Jonathan Haidt suggests that awe arises from perception of vastness, something greater or more powerful than oneself, to which the individual feels the need to adjust or accommodate. Importantly, the experience of awe varies. Awe experienced at seeing the Grand Canyon for the first time is not the same as hearing Handel's Messiah or hearing a brilliantly cogent remark made during an exam live's online discussion. Researchers have proposed seven overlapping theories of the evolution of awe. Awe may, number one, reinforce social hierarchies and stabilize the group. That awe is the reaction of perceived vastness or strength by subordinate to a powerful social leader or symbol, results in the individual accommodation to the group, stabilizing the social group and reducing internal conflict. Number two, awe promotes prosociality. People perceive themselves to have more time available, are also more generous, more willing to spend that time in a prosocial manner. This has been tested experimentally. Number three, awe as a meaning-making emotion is a recent contribution in this field, according to which awe-eliciting stimuli initiate an accommodation process, causing people to adapt or update their meaning systems in response to an awe-inspiring experience, resulting in positive emotions. These positive emotions are theoretically due to an increased and enhanced perception of personal significance. Number four, promotes reflective processing of external stimuli. Research has shown that participants who were asked to reimagine an experience of awe were subsequently less convinced by weak arguments and more convinced by strong arguments, suggesting that awe facilitates careful consideration and weighting of arguments. Number five, awe increases creativity. A study established that those experiencing awe scored higher on creativity, fluency, flexibility, and elaboration, providing evidence for the causal role of awe in generating creative ideas. Number six, aids selection of potential mates. That awe is primordial and fundamental emotion that is sexually selected. That perception of awe may present a reliable signal that a potential romantic partner is of a healthy mental and physical condition. And then number seven, as a sign, signal of psychological health, the study has determined that those taking trips to experience nature and wildlife reported positive effects on their psychological well-being and happiness, sometimes having a a peak experience, a powerful, intense moment of happiness, ecstasy, absolute life satisfaction, and self-actualization. Um, so you can see there's a lot of complexity to awe. If you'll allow me a moment of frivolity, an experience of awe might well elicit the verbalization of awe, therefore making this an example of a literary device called onomatopoeia, where the sound of the word mimics its meaning, as in meow, quack, hiccup, awe. I thought we might address these theories one at a time. However, in addition to academic analysis as we chat, you may wish to reflect on which of these theories resonates with your own experience of awe. Consider a moment when you felt genuine awe, how it changed, even briefly, the way you thought about yourself or the world. Okay, let's look at number one,
Alan,
evolutionary theories.
Alan
Yeah.
Alan wanted to say something, Ken.
Oh,
Well,
I'm sorry.
I don't know if Ken, I don't know if you've got a mic plugged in or something, but your sound quality is kind of funky.
Oh,
The So I added an eighth theory of awe, which as we go through them, I'd be happy to add to the mix. It's close to two of the seven, but I've been thinking and writing about it for the past 5 or 6 years, and
Well,
I don't want to.
what is it,
I don't want
Alan?
to take over.
You have to
Well,
just add it to the list.
okay. I don't know. So it would be a tie into the peak experience thing. I think it's a part of a whole collection of experiences that kind of break us out of a narrow perspective necessarily, uh, to compensate sort of for ego or executive function or whatever's tendency to lock in and exclude relevant components of either the internal or external environment. And the whole ego executive function thing, I think, arose evolutionarily, um, because when we got heavily into culture and learning, we could become highly conflicted beings. So I think if you go up from awe to some of the similar but more intense experiences, a lot of them are triggered by crises or internal conflicts. So
That's a good
and
observation. There's definitely, whether or not it's an eighth category, there's definitely some connection and overlap between the concepts of awe and peak experiences for sure. That makes sense.
yeah, so why don't we just add that to number eight and uh, as
Okay.
number eight, and I can expound it whatever length people are willing to tolerate.
Okay.
okay. Just in based on what you said, it sounds
Hank,
like it addresses some of the other seven already. But
can I say
well,
something before you go on,
Yeah,
Ken?
go ahead, Hank.
sure,
I just want to
sure.
add in the literature, I don't know if it's a number of something, but it's the whole notion of shock and awe used by military.
Yeah.
I think we ought to just think about it. So I just adding it now is
That fits in as
okay.
a response to immensity.
Right.
I mean, again, I was thinking for some reason this popped into my head. I was thinking about the awe that I might feel watching a particular athletic achievement or performance. And I was trying to relate that, and I think in a way it is the immensity issue still. It's sort of this, whoever has there's kind of a home run race going on right now in baseball, and you kind of stand in awe of hitters that are able to achieve something like that. And again, it's the size, I guess, of the achievement, the immensity of it. Yeah. Anyhow.
Okay, so awe reinforces social hierarchies. The first thing that's noted is that primordial awe arises as a reaction to power. Um, when
Mm.
we come into contact with someone or a situation who is powerful, dominant, has a high status in the social hierarchy, theories argues that the reaction to subordinate to social dominance results in a subordinate reinforcement of social hierarchies. That is, the individual perceives himself as being relatively small and requiring to accommodate. That, of course, keeps the group together. And as we all know, as as David Wilson likes to say, selfishness beats altruism. Altruistic groups beat selfish groups. Everything else is commentary. So awe seems to be an important characteristic in social control based on this theory. So
I know
here
that
we are.
a lot of the pomp and circumstance that surround monarchies are specifically to generate awe in the common populace at the immensity of the wealth and status of the monarch and the royal family and all of that. So and that was an interesting aspect of the article that you sent out, Ken. I had thought about awe in relation to things like meaning making and creativity and things of that nature, psychological health. I hadn't before thought about it in terms of um, dominance and social hierarchies and all of that, but it fits pretty well. Think about the Nuremberg rallies and the early days of the Nazi regime. That's when you watch film of those, it's awe-inspiring, but not in a good way, if that
Yeah,
makes
well, of
sense.
course, what it brings to mind, of course, is standing in a medieval cathedral, looking up and seeing the enormous height, all of the immense size and religious artifacts throughout the centuries has been to generate awe and accommodation on the part
Right.
of the individual.
And to make you
Uh,
feel, is it, Ken, do you think, or other people too, is it also in when you think of it like an architecture of a cathedral or in the pomp and circumstance of a monarch, is part of that generating awe to make you feel small and powerless in relation to
Precisely.
it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
as I said, to make you feel that you need to accommodate
Okay.
to the power, thereby reinforcing social control. That's what it's all about. I'm pretty sure that number one is the 900-pound gorilla in the room. But number two, which is very close to it, oops, that's not where I wanted to move that. There we are. Number two is that it promotes, and the two people who were involved, by the way, number one were Dr. Kellner and Jonathan Haidt. I love Jonathan Haidt, one of my favorite authors. All promotes pro-sociality. Now, to me, it seems that there's an immense amount of overlap between the first two.
Mhm.
Mechanism by which will be adaptive is its effect on pro-social emotions. Although just have been shown to increase pro-sociality and
Excuse
and
me,
co
guys.
and
It's a shaky volume, Ken.
how about now?
That's
Better.
better.
Oh, okay. Then I need to simply get
Sit
myself
closer.
closer.
Yeah.
Okay, my
Yeah, much
apologies.
better.
Okay. Did you?
Rob, I liked your comment in the chat. It sounds more like intimidation. I suppose if intimidation makes everybody walk in lockstep, that can look like pro-sociality. We're all cooperating in our fear.
I
Well,
don't associate it with awe, and I must say the display of wealth and power makes me laugh.
How so, Rob?
I find it ludicrous. I find the pomp and circumstance of watching Trump at the state dinners and
Hmm.
the carriages and all of that just over the top.
Well, and of course, maybe this popped into my head because his visit to the United Kingdom was just on the
Yeah,
news last night, and they really did their best to create a big pomp and circumstance ceremony. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that was to intimidate him.
maybe. I was thinking it was to flatter him because
Flatter him.
it's all for
Yeah.
him.
Well,
Yeah.
not sure there's much difference.
Well, I'll just add something a little playful, but I have this little dog, as you know, and I generally in Manhattan, and most of the responses from women are, "Oh, so just I wanted to, I don't know, but the eyes get
Oh,
wider, and just telling you, I don't know what to make of it, but it's pretty powerful. I mean,
It's
it's just
it's a
yeah,
cue that you're a nurturer, and that's why you get that reaction. And I'm not kidding about that.
yeah, I know,
There's
yeah, but
research
it's
on this.
yeah, but it's not about me. It's just also the creature itself. Yeah,
Hmm.
I know what you mean about,
Yeah.
and
but it's also yeah,
It wouldn't work
there's
if
the
you had a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
no,
So
no.
so get he's saying get phone numbers is what he's saying.
Very
I'm
cute.
taking, I'm taking, yeah.
and there's the onomatopoeia. Oh,
Oh,
jeez,
okay.
what's going on
Uh,
here?
Promotes pro-sociality so that people not only perceive themselves to have more time available, they are also more willing to spend that time in a pro-social manner. After experiences of awe, people have been willing to share a greater amount of value with a partner. Experimental induction of awe has been shown to increase generosity, et cetera, et cetera. To me, by the way, this seems to be a part of number one. In the process of accommodating yourself to this strength, you accommodate yourself to, in this case, the strength very often in our tribal evolutionary paradigm has been the group, has been sticking with the group. And so this pro-sociality to me seems to be simply a part of the accommodation that was called for in number one. It almost seems like number two is, they talk about it overlapping. To me, it almost seems as though it's a subset of number one. But any thoughts on that? Any
Well,
other thought?
maybe, yeah, just uh, everybody keeps saying this, but there's accommodating oneself to what I'm going to say is perceived power, whether it's transcendental or whether it's a parade. You know, I'm an ex-football fan, so but I still go to a game. Whenever I've been to a game, when I've no longer been so immersed, everybody's going nuts. You know, wow, wow, and they got a. I remember going to one game in San Diego with a nephew, and the guys in back of me were like drunk, drinking beer. And I have a way. I don't root for a particular team when I see a game. I root for a player. I watch them. I follow them, whether it's a quarterback or a linebacker or something. And they yell at me. They got mad at me a few times, like, "How come you're not voting for your team?" And I say, "Well," and they wanted to pour beer over me. You know, so they were all inspired to to be part of immersed or identified or mimicking this bigger perceived power of the team and the glory involved. So there's not, I don't know if it's directly to it, but it's something about accommodating and the good and the harm that it can do. It would be my simplification. Yeah.
I like that,
Okay.
Hank. I like that, Hank. The idea that of accommodating oneself to perceived power. That
Mm,
that that fits a lot of what we're talking about. It
yep.
fits how you might respond to a monarch who could order your death. It responds to what you might feel in a cathedral when you look up at the ceiling and the stained glass windows. Might it fit for how you perceive the Grand Canyon, the immensity of the power of nature over time.
Right.
So that
Another
fits.
a way to describe that, if I might, to just get a large cover on that is that the immensity of what? Not necessarily power, but it could be emotional power, so that
Hmm.
one might submit to the sudden realization that something like passion or uh, attachment to an adaptive fiction is of an immense importance. So
Hmm.
it may not be the actual power of
Yeah.
a ruling monarch. The other thing,
How would the awe that you might feel when a baby is born fit into this? I mean, that's for those of
well,
us that have either been in the room or been to do or done the delivery. Yeah, maybe it's more inspiring to those of us that are just standing watching than those that are doing the hard work.
Right.
But at any rate, when a newborn baby comes out and
Yeah.
is held, that's kind of an awe-inspiring. Is that the response to the power of life in a sense, or?
Yeah, at least.
Hmm.
do we have
Yeah.
any other
So
anyone here to pipe in on
I
this
totally missed
awe?
that, Ken.
Yeah, say that again, Ken.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just asking if anyone wishes to comment on this concept of whether the perception of a very cute creature itself is an example of awe. And
I
Well, I don't
wouldn't
think
say any
a
cute.
baby being
I don't
born
feel
is
that way about a.
cute.
I don't feel that way about a cute kitten. It's a human baby being born that is awe-inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the common
I'm the
theme.
only mother
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Yeah.
So,
Diane,
Hello,
uh,
Diane,
Mama.
you, you said you didn't know whether the person who was doing all the work will feel awe. But what I can tell you is that when the work is done and you see the baby, it is
Hmm.
awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Maybe even more
um,
so in a way for a woman. Yeah.
So,
I don't know,
so
you're
for
pretty tired, but
yeah, so for me, the common theme is uh, sort of an expanded awareness. Suddenly,
Yeah.
Yes.
your everyday perspective, even if you just walk out the front door and it's a beautiful day,
Yep.
is, there's a clue that it's all a lot bigger than you think,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
or your implicit assumption.
Okay, I'm going to throw.
Maybe I can extend that sentence a little bit, Alan. It's about your expanded awareness about yourself in relation to something else.
Yep.
Yeah,
In,
I think
in
that's absolutely
That's
correct.
important.
Yeah. And what it is you're relating to might differ in these different types of awe. So, if I'm comparing myself to Aaron Judge in his home run record, that's an awareness of myself in relation to this man's accomplishment. If I'm if I'm looking at a monarch, I'm expanding my awareness of my power relative to this person's power, and we could run through the examples and complete the sentences in that way.
Do you think that applies also to feelings of awe in response to music or art?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Let's think about that for a minute. The first thought I have is I actually, for a local lifelong learners group, I do a monthly film series. And the next film I'm showing is Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life. I don't know how many of you have seen that film, one of my favorites, but I recommend it most highly if you've never seen it. But it is, for me, there are very few films I would say are awe-inspiring. But that is one. And so certainly I have felt awe, the emotion of awe in response to some films. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to bring up, I'll kind of simplify it, but I'm going to call it an addiction or habituation to awe, where it becomes, it gets taken over by another part of us, and it becomes like, I mean, I work with people who uh, their interest in the transcendent, it goes beyond the awe, and they got to have it every 10 minutes
Well,
or every
that's
month. It's not just excitement. That's all I want to say about
Hank,
it for people to think
let's
about.
come back to that
Yeah,
and stay with Diane's question for a moment
yeah.
because I think it's interesting. How does the awe you might feel in response to a piece of music, for example, fit in with the way we've been conceptualizing awe, or is it a different type of awe? The immensity of the beauty of what you're listening to, or
Well,
The
and
Re the Requiem Mass of Mozart,
Uh-huh.
uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
all the way
I
through.
I go
I
there.
I'm not a Mozart guy. For me, it's the ability to assemble a beautiful order out of a background of chaos in a certain
Hmm.
type of jazz is what does
Uh,
it for me. But
okay.
I think it's a similar experience. I think it's creating a beautiful pattern out of you know the
Okay,
meaning making function at a highest possible level.
Miles
Okay.
Davis.
Hmm.
And how
Hmm.
how is that adaptive in an evolutionary basis? On an evolutionary basis.
Yeah.
I think it's well. So that's the question we're begging in this whole discussion: is this under selective pressure? And my argument is yes. That we had to sort of lock out a lot of our awareness in order to wrest energy from the conflicting
Hmm.
internal and external pushes we get as primarily learners in a culture. So ego compensates for learning and culture, and then awe compensates for ego. To put it concisely enough that it's almost meaningless. To quote George Clinton, while we're on the topic of music, the bigger the headache, the bigger the pill. So there's a graduation of experiences up to, Maslow's peak experience and beyond, which I view as all sort of expanded mind
Yeah.
of a type. And I think that is under selective pressure, not
Alan,
awe per
would
se. Awe is kind of the little sister of the
yeah.
whole, which has quite an impact, but of a whole range of possible experiences.
Alan, would you for my purposes, I think I get the idea of selective pressure, but could you be a little more precise how that works? I mean, I get it, but I'm not really,
Increases fitness, Hank. That's
yeah,
what
that I
Yeah,
know.
and on an
But,
ongoing basis. So you've got
but what
those
is it?
salamanders in the caves in
Yeah, but
Texas
wait,
whose eyes start to go away.
yeah, but is it like selective inattention? You're focusing on one thing to get
no,
better at it, to
no
become an
natural
expert.
natural
No.
selection.
Yeah, selective
Oh,
pressure means that there are more in the next generation of organisms that have that trait than
ah,
those that don't.
thank you very much.
So that
Thank you.
over time it becomes a feature of a species.
So
Right.
Alan, how
Thank
does
you.
the experience of and there's other answers to this in the list of eight hypotheses, but let's stick with the idea that when I feel awe in the presence of some type of immensity, it reminds me of my insignificance. How is that adaptive? How is it adaptive for me in terms of my fitness, meaning my survival and my reproductive abilities? How is being reminded that
Well,
I'm insignificant increase my fitness?
Want an answer
Um,
to that? Very,
Yeah, yeah,
I've got one
very
too,
simple.
but let's see.
I
yeah.
got one
Okay,
too.
let me
Okay.
just toss this in
Okay.
because it motivates you to accommodate yourself to the power, which is generally uh, the group, and therefore cohesive groups pass on. Anything
Yeah.
else, Alan?
The pro-sociality
Yeah,
part.
I would say it's the emotional pop of, hey, pay attention. So, you're not going to break out of a mundane experience, which is perhaps limited to your disadvantage,
Hmm.
without an emotional hook. So that awe is there's a lot more going on here than I initially assumed. And I think that expanded awareness has an evolutionary
Okay.
function.
Okay.
My
Or
my
better yet, everything's happening here that is more than I can handle alone.
Yeah, Hank.
yeah, I
Very
have
simple.
a kind of a simplistic hypothesis that you'll maybe laugh or maybe make something of it, but it's a wonderful distraction from everyday life.
Well, I don't, is that adaptive to be distracted from everyday life?
Yeah, yeah, it's like you're miserable and then you go to church or yeah, it's like, whoa, it's like you forget about, your broken leg or something and you get immersed in sort of taking in some, let's call it powerful healing force.
So what you're all doing is referencing different things on Ken's original list.
Yeah,
You're referencing psychological health. Ken,
yep,
Yeah.
you were referencing the pro-sociality, and Alan were referencing, I think, the creativity and problem solving abilities.
yep, yep.
So
Yeah, and
some,
the last one, the psychological health or whatever that is too.
yeah, that one too. Okay.
Okay, we move on to awe as a meaning-making motion. Recent contribution to the literature about evolutionary function of outcomes proposes the role of awe as a meaning-making
Can
emotion.
you get closer to the mic or something?
Or
How's
if
it?
it's a physical mic, unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah.
I do not have a physical mic. I have
Oh, okay.
wherever it is on the computer. I do not
Are
see
you
where it
using
is.
a headset?
No, I'm not.
No.
Oh, so something's interfering with the mic
Yeah.
picking it up.
You may want to buy a physical mic for future meetings, Ken, but go ahead.
Or Charlie, or
Okay,
whatever you want.
Or hit it
this
with the
is
rubber mallet. That fixes stuff.
this is the computer I use for the
The-
last for the last year. So, is it any better now?
It's better when you lean closer and speak louder.
But it's still grainy.
Yeah.
It's grainy. That's the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you look fine. You look good.
Yeah, you're looking good.
You're looking good. Don't worry about it. So you can come
Wonderful,
closer, you know.
wonderful. This process of meaning making is thought to result in okay, so recognition, often listening to recognition, a combination process to adapt or update their meaning systems in response to an awe-inspiring experience. And this is thought to result in positive emotions. I don't understand that, but due to an increased sense of predictability and comprehensibility of the external world, as well as an enhanced perception of being in a state of awe, facilitates careful consideration and weighting of arguments.
Yeah.
In contrast, positive emotions such as enthusiasm or amusement were shown to facilitate heuristic processing, suggesting that the effect on a reflective process is specific to awe and is not due to the positive valence of the emotion. So it makes you, in terms of altering you tend to be reflective, more careful.
Yeah.
In response to this, people tend to rely better on strong arguments and not so much on weak arguments. Although people who submit to the awe of a populist leader
Right.
submit to, so I don't quite understand that. Any thoughts?
Well, one, it sounds like a kind of a one-sided, idealistic, one-sided notion of meaning making. Like you just said, like if everybody agrees we don't need immigrants and it makes me feel better, and we have a whole crowd to identify with. I'm just talking about in the moment, not. But you can make meaning out of anything, you know, if you know your logic and philosophy. So it will create all the context of. It's not just meaning making that makes you a better person or makes you more reflective. It gives you a place in the sun.
My
Okay,
thought, my thought was that that I do think that the experience of feeling insignificant in relation to something immense, I certainly see how it motivates you to ask big questions, big philosophical and existential questions. Why am I here? What is the universe about? What happens after I die? All of those kinds of questions, right? What I'm less certain about is whether the answers to those questions invariably tend to be more complex and reasoned and sophisticated, because a lot of people answer those questions by adopting very simplistic
That's right.
black and white religious dogma to answer those questions. So but of course, then, then if that's a pathway to pro-sociality, maybe you get there through that route. But so I certainly agree that it inspires questions and a desire to make meaning. How people to make meanings, though, has a lot of variety, I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
okay. There's no doubt that the adherence to that religious dogma is all about the social control. So that's a number one. Okay,
Mhm.
R promotes reflective processing. Another proposed mechanism is its effect on the reflective processing of external stimuli. Participants who are asked to reimagine an experience were subsequently less convinced by weak arguments and more convinced by strong arguments. I think I may have accidentally included this in the
Mhm.
previous stuff. It suggests that being in a state of awe facilitates careful consideration and weighting of arguments.
I think
Any
it's much
thoughts on
more
it?
complex to that because all can also, like somebody just said, I think Steve, you just said it, it could lead you to be less of a critical thinker
Mhm.
and go with the more primitive emotions. This is it. Oh, you know, or aha. I
Mhm.
don't know how that works on an evolutionary level, you know, how that gets, but I don't think it is more complex, doesn't necessarily open one up uh, let's say, Steve, I don't know if I've experienced awe, but I don't know if I experienced it literally as insignificant. I've heard about it, but I'm just taken away by it. So I'm just adding another part. If that insignificance is, I don't know, cultural or it's
I don't
social
know. I
learning.
mean, have you
No,
ever, Hank, have you ever been somewhere where there wasn't a lot of ambient light and you looked up at the stars?
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that's pretty, I don't know about you folks, but it's pretty hard
Awesome.
to look up at the galaxies
yep,
and not feel insignificant in
yeah.
either time or space or both,
yeah.
at least for me.
So, yeah, when I was a kid, what my first cultivated awe experience is I would lie on my back, look up, and then imagine myself moving out into space and seeing myself as this insignificant thing out of an insignificant, and at some point there would be this pop that I define as awe. And what we're talking about here, I mean, awe can be totally outlaw. You can be, out in nature and grasp this larger order and think, we're screwing up, right? So I don't know. I think its potential to undermine social control is equal to any ability to enhance it.
When you mention nature, what popped into my head, and this goes back to Ken talked about also being in awe of some brilliant, cogent comment that might be made in the discussion group. Whether or not that applies to us, we'll leave for another day. But I remember
Let's assume it does.
I remember when I first had that aha moment where the light bulb went on and I really grasped the significance of Darwinian theory.
Mm-hmm.
That was for me one of the few sort of intellectual awe-inspiring moments that I had because of its generalizability and applicability and its parsimony. And all of that was kind of an awe-inspiring moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you in exactly the same object. I mean, there are other things, but it was a major one for me. But it seems to me that we're not really clear about whether are we talking about the phenomenology of it? Are we talking about the effect of it? Or are we talking about the functions of it?
I think we should do all three.
Very different things. Yeah.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
I think we're not being clear about which one we're talking about.
Well, we're looking at the adaptability of it from an evolutionary standpoint. How can it benefit us?
I lost everybody's voice.
Oh, you lost my voice again.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
It'll be fun to see what the transcript makes of this.
Yeah, I can see you. I'm reading the transcript. You have it on, folks? I have my transcript on. I don't know where you push. Maybe somebody remembers, but so I don't record it. I mean, I don't have, but I can see my words, Ken's words, anybody's. So I'm going to look more.
What I just said, was it not heard? Did it not come through?
It was fuzzy to me.
You talked about adaptability, that we're dealing with the adaptability of it.
And you gave some example.
Oh boy. Okay, let's move on. And just tell me if you can't hear me, I guess. Let's move on to awe increases creativity. Some authors have argued that the ability for creative thinking was a key factor for determining the evolutionary success of the human race. And when one experiences awe, one is notably more creative, less likely to accept traditional answers to things. I wonder if one of the ways that it does that is that it interrupts the activity of the default mode network, those ruminating narratives. Then this is, I'm tossing this in, those ruminating narratives that we have, whose job is to reinforce our reflective responses in specific circumstances. Our head is just filled with all sorts of dualistic judgments. This is good, that's bad, I like this, I don't like this, we gotta do this, we can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And so I wonder if awe interferes with that rumination process, thereby bringing you back to the moment, so that it's sort of a moment of mindfulness, therefore bringing you to a point where you have pushed the curtain of semi-consciousness back and are able to see more of what's going on in your own head. I wonder if that's a possibility.
Well, I'd like to bring, I guess I'm in my simple mode today, trying to kind of organize it simply. Well, two things. I was going to say something about the addiction to awe, but that's not what I want to get to. But I think awe there's awe in the moment, and then there's everlasting awe. And I don't know if I don't have everlasting awe, but it comes up and I'm very happy. But I think people are seeking this awe to transcend and be forever, like it's infinite. So does it help with creativity? At least for the moment, you could write a good song or come up with a great, like when I get something, I feel wonderful. Okay. Can you guys hear me? It sounds funny.
Yeah, no, here I'm reading the transcript, so I don't want to lose Ken's point either.
Yeah.
Which I think that totally jives with what I think is going on, which is it's a moment of mindfulness.
I think so, yeah. And I do want to mention, Hank, that I think that basically what we have is a moment of awe, and then we have a memory of the moment of awe.
Yeah.
And we also have a psychological tendency to imagine permanence.
Yes, I like that.
He,
Thank you.
he didn't do research in a university, but Buddha suggested that we have a tendency to have a delusion of permanence. We kind of think that the way things are is the way they're going to be for some period of time. And of course, everything slowly evolves.
Is there a difference between awe and being in the flow, which is
Well,
that long guy's name that I can't pronounce?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So Maslow talks about peak experiences, but he also, which he views as an important part of self-actualization. This is
right.
There's not a lot of research about this one direction or another, but then he also says some people get there without it. And I think the flow state is simply the barriers that awe might be breaking through are just not there. And you do have a more complete application of what's, you're more of you is there when you're in the flow state, I guess would be what I'd say.
I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You define the flow state for me, Alan. I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Well, it's when you sort of lose track of the subject, and if I'm writing code and suddenly, 4 hours have passed and I haven't been thinking about lunch or what I'm doing, and it's just sort of effortless. That's a flow state. I think that's why coders are now taking microdoses of psilocybin mushroom. They're not trying to trip; they're trying to reduce the barrier to a more whole-minded approach to coding.
So I think that's right, that the flow state is access to something greater than mundane life.
Yeah.
Yep.
It takes you out of that.
And now that's all going to be done by AI.
Well,
Look,
AI is not awesome.
It's awesome. Look, I just want to add another one of my simplistic, but maybe I'm being a Debbie Downer, but I think not the presence of awe, but I think we kind of idealize awe. And when we bring it down to presence or flow state or what did you say, Rob, about it's being out of the everyday mundane?
Yeah.
Yeah, I call that just making I call it just making a little change, walking in a different direction. It may not be a monster awe, but sometimes I walk in the same direction every whatever, and then I think I'll go in another direction. I see different things, and I kind of feel better. Now, I won't call it awe, so I don't want to romanticize awe. That's just me, even though because I hear it in the discussion. It may not be what people are doing, but it's okay. I know, Steve.
I'm willing to be a poster child for romanticizing awe. If
all
that
right,
would be useful for the point of discussion.
Me too.
All right.
And again, there are different flavors of awe. There's that enormous moment feel that you need to be diminished. Another time, you're just, and I want to make a comment on the possibility of listening to, Mozart. You're just recognizing something, an ability that is so much above your own. again, but it's a feeling of personal diminishment and
Yeah.
accommodation.
But I'll
Okay,
add just one thing on that. In the article that you gave us, or maybe some other reading I was doing, one of the definitions of awe, the simplistic one, was a combination of fear and excitement. And we haven't talked about that. I just remembered it now.
Well, and another thing that I think we should throw in the mix is if we're talking about it as an evolutionary solution to something, it can
Yeah,
misfire. There can be, liberating awe and
constricting. Mm.
oh, of course. But the way things work, it's how things average out. I'm guessing that a majority of time, or managed the social control in a way that was very useful to the group. Now, as you suggested, Alan, awe may be pushing us to move away from that by recognizing that the social control, the social group is destroying the planet. But that's
Well, that
so
would be
with
that would be awful. Diane's
but
got the word.
that would for all that would be adaptive in a new way because now you've found a way to stop destroying the planet through an episode of awe. So it's adaptive. It was adaptive in a tribal sense. Now it's perhaps adaptive in a different sense. Whoops, did we lose Alan?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see him.
Oh,
I don't see me either, but
oh, I see you.
oh, you do? Okay. Well, while we're waiting, I just want to add one more simple thing. And I'll come at it from a more personal point of view. But I think a lot of what we're talking about today has to do with imagination and not just creativity, but whatever we know in the literature. I worked with different people for about 45 years. And some people are amazingly imaginative, like a guy like Einstein. I never knew him. And some people have a minimum of imagination, and some people, whatever genetics they have, I'm okay. I got better since I was a kid. But I think there's something about being freed up to imagination, and then how you use it can be liberating or constricting. So,
Okay. Okay. All right, let's pop back here and look at one more topic, and that's that there are two left. Awe aids the selection of potential mates. Another explanation for the evolutionary adaptiveness is that it's sexually selective. Those who have access to awe-inspiring experiences, who show awe, are deemed to be suitable partners by others in their social surroundings. So supposedly, someone who sees someone else as experiencing awe is perceived as a valuable mate. The ability to have self-transcendent mystical cosmic experiences in which the sense of self is attenuated and one perceives connection with it becomes one with a larger entity has been associated with enhanced well-being, meaning in life, reduced stress, anxiety, and depression, and better physiological health. This may speak to some of the things that Alan Tabor was saying, but unfortunately he's no longer with us. Consequently, the perception of awe may present a reliable signal that a potential romantic is of a healthy mental and physical condition. Does anybody buy that one? No, okay. Let's
Couldn't understand much of it.
Ken, that was my part. I couldn't make out enough of it, and I couldn't read quickly enough. So,
I should
I
turn on.
just can't understand. I can't understand where the microphone is. As I move around the computer, does it get better? Is this any better?
for the moment, but then you're
That's
not
a
going to stay.
If you can talk with your head down there.
No, but if you tell me, then I'll know where things are. Is this better or worse?
It's good for the
That must
moment.
be worse.
It's terrible.
I asked if it was better. I got no response, so I assumed you didn't hear me.
I said it was better. Now you're not as good.
Oh,
It was good down. Put
so
your head
this
up your ass, right?
no, but
Sorry.
this is better.
Hank.
Ah,
So I know,
it's awesome.
so I know where things are. Perhaps by focusing towards it, this is where the speaker is. Perhaps by focusing towards it. Is this okay now?
Let's try it.
No. Okay.
No.
It's
Well, I don't
crackly.
know what to do.
I think we should
I
just
don't.
have brief chats for a few minutes. We'll, if it's a lengthy, it gets all like crackly and stuff. We only have
Maybe
about
it's.
five.
Yeah, you just broke up, Hank.
Yeah, we only have
Maybe
about
we.
five. I'm leaving in 5 minutes. So,
Breaking up is hard to do.
oh, doobie doobie dum, doobie doo dum. Sorry,
Well,
Ken.
the last topic is awe as a signal of psychological health.
A signal to
Um,
who? Because awe is an internal feeling. So
Yeah.
how do you signal that?
that's a good call. Let's see what it says.
Well, I could tell you on a practical level, but see what it says.
A nature-based awe experience has been shown to improve well-being and reduce psychological stress. So that may be adaptive, individually adaptive to the individual, who then should perhaps perform in a social control fashion. That's as best I can tell on that one.
Should we also
And
talk about Freud's oceanic feeling?
Ah,
Freud's oceanic feeling.
yeah, but that's only
Oh,
when I'm in the ocean. I don't have it anymore.
in addition to nature scenes, psychedelic and hallucinogenic drugs have also been reported to have the capacity to bring about peak experiences. Administration of psilocybin has been shown to have promising therapeutic effects, including reduction of symptoms of depression and anxiety. Authors have argued that this
Yeah.
effective psychedelic psychotherapy is mediated
Well,
through the intense emotional experiences
yeah. But
brought about by
Ken, I'll comment on the health. There was one of the articles I read. I don't think it was this one. Talked about, and there's also some research on mindfulness about some people. Uh, I mean, I've worked with people who've had sort of peak experiences and then have had psychotic breaks. Not me alone. It's just it's in the literature. Too much dope, or not just LSD. And so what happens is not everybody's in a world can tolerate awe. So it's like there's some research on mindfulness that if you don't really know what the person's really like and you don't have the best teacher, people have breakdowns. So not everybody wants to have a peak experience because I've seen it, they can't tolerate it. And it's in the
so
literature. I've been around it a long time. So,
yeah,
to,
one can argue that the too much awe, that's the definition of PTSD. If the experience is too strong, then it becomes limiting and constricting,
yeah, but
psychologically constricting.
right. But even regular people without any blatant stuff may not be able to tolerate these awesome experiences. In existential humanistic thinking, philosophy, psychology, um, there's suggestion that in the terms of the ontology, awe and fear are on the same continuum and kind of meet up. And in order, it's like in the French word for orgasm is le petit mort, like the little death. So there's something about you got to be able to tolerate losing your boundary. And for a lot of people, these ego structures, these defenses, especially in psychotherapy, you don't want to rip them away from people because they'll leave your practice, firstly, or they'll have a breakdown around you. Um, uh, so what was I saying? So losing your characteristic ways of coping and adapting too quickly can do great harm to the individual or the group. So I don't know if that helps understand the one-sidedness of this literature.
Okay. Well, we've now gone through the seven, and we have reached, I have 12:59. Does the difficulty of communication here suggest that we should cut this shortly, or do you want to continue?
Well, I have to leave anyways, but
Okay. So,
that'll make
well, in
it
that, okay. Then at this point, let's just have it be open discussion, and when everyone needs to go, they can go. And
so.
again, I think go ahead.
Just before I go, I want to thank you for the thoroughness and the literature. And it opened me up to just looking at much more literature that I've set aside because I've always been interested in that. So it's really good to have this discussion, all sides of it. So
I
thanks.
appreciate your interest and your input.
I think
Thank
this is very provocative, and I'm now interested in the difference between awesome and awful.
Oh my gosh, I knew you would do that sometime. That's great.
And
No, I mean,
I'm
Yeah,
but I'm serious about that because
I am. Yeah.
yeah, I think that it's often an overwhelming sensation, and
Well, that's,
and
yeah. Your
it
language suggests the literature.
yeah, well, I'm a
Yeah.
literary person.
Yeah, I know. I know. You said it so nicely. I'm in simple today, so I like it.
so you appreciated my onomatopoeia comment more than others.
Well,
Or,
it sounds like what it is.
yeah. Um, I'm actually, frankly, very curious about the difference between the awe of, seeing the Grand Canyon and the awe of seeing a baby. I'm not sure they're the same thing, except that the awe of seeing a baby might, so long, Hank,
Right. Enjoy. See you next month.
take care, is that the awe of seeing a baby might might again motivate you to conform to the point of helping or caring for that baby. If your baby is really cute
Mhm.
and that baby had a need, you would be willing to resolve that. And that certainly would be adaptive, but not in the same way. It's not the same thing as awe for something majestic, as a majestic awe.
Yeah. Well, personally, I'm awed by the photograph of the microwave background radiation. And I think this is, first of all, the earliest photograph we had of the universe, which is quite big. There's a Monty Python routine about God who's saying, "You are so mighty and so awesome." Um, but the fact that we're part of that universe that we're in, to me, is awesome.
Well, yes, again, it certainly makes you feel small in
Not
relation to
feeling
this.
small, not feeling small, feeling part of something that is all.
Huh? Okay, well, in that case, you're going to be a nonconformist.
I
Odd,
hope so.
odd to being a conformist. Um, Scott, we haven't heard much from you today.
Yeah, well, so again, then as you probably know, Ken, I'm sort of the resident skeptic, and so sometimes I find myself wondering just why I am even, sitting in. Um, but it's I'm curious about some things. Among others, why anybody thinks any of this makes any difference. For instance, but that puts me into that sort of contrarian, what's he doing here mode. So anyway, all these things is just it seems to me like a lot of sort of intellectual puzzle making. The trying to categorize awe, trying to explain it, to what end? I guess you're getting right down into. I'm with Rob in the. I mean, this is something that you got it, you don't got it, you have it in different ways. My sense of awe, Rob's sense of awe, we can appreciate that we each have it, but there's no way we're ever going to understand the depth and complexity of what somebody else's sense of that is. And so, I mean, all this scientific talk about odds just seems like, oh, I don't know, who cares? I guess. Anyway, so that's my useless 2 cents.
Okay, just want you to know, next month we're going to discuss how many angels can dance on the head of a pin.
I have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I know the number.
I'm sure you're very skeptical. You don't think any angels can dance on the head of a
Oh,
pin.
actually, it's 42.
Uh, that's one
Um,
opinion.
yes, obviously
You
what we do
disagree?
here, what we do here is to some extent mental masturbation. But I think the important thing to come out of this is that it's pretty obvious that awe makes you feel a diminution and desire to accommodate, and that accommodation has contributed to social control. And over time, groups that were had lots of social control were cohesive, and they beat other groups. They won and beat other groups, and that's how it evolved into the species.
Well, actually, I would have one sort of semi-serious question or comment here. I mean, we seem to be in this discussion assuming that the sense of awe has remained more or less constant, and that whatever we're talking about now is pretty much the same thing as, say, somebody might have had 10,000 years ago. I don't know that that's a good assumption. So again, but it is because they could be just completely different things. I mean, we are in a fundamentally different environment with what has to be very, very different ways of seeing things and perceiving things. And awe would be one of those. I mean, I'm with Rob on the cosmic background. My favorite image actually is the deep field. Um, but ain't none of that was around 10,000 years ago. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, it seems like one of these things where maybe it was, but probably it wasn't. And would that make a difference in any of the, I guess, outcomes that we're expecting might come out of this sort of broad categorization of awe? It's the question.
Well, it is obviously it has evolved, but whether how it existed, we can measure that to some extent because I believe both chimpanzees and bonobos have instances of awe, and we can measure those, which is
I think
interesting.
bonobos are awesome.
Okay, but
That's because
which
they have
is
a lot
interesting
of
because
sex.
neither of those is a tribal species. Neither of those is a eusocial or tribal species. So how evolve is was adaptive for them. I can say how it was adaptive for Homo sapiens.
Well, the
But
stimulus has changed for our species, certainly, but is the sensation the same or similar?
I'm sure everything evolves. I'm wondering if it reached its peak at the time that we were behaving the most tribally, and that's in the 20th century when
I
we
I
had
hope
the
not. I'm not a fan of
um
tribes.
no, but we have behaved very tribally, and we reached the largest tribes. Well, I guess you could say we have the largest tribes now. We have one tribe headed by the United States, another one headed by China, that Russia and Korea and others are sucking up to. And China seems to be doing a better way of buying its way into the rest of the world than we are.
Yeah, I'm thinking of moving.
We may be down to two giant tribes. Um, and
Not a
the
good, not a
idea,
good, not a good prognosis there.
no.
Yeah, there's some rumbling with the natives in one of those tribes.
Yeah.
They're
Thanks,
not
Scott.
all
That
happy.
was good. The rumbling of
There's
the
a lot
natives.
there's a lot of rumbling with natives. That's how populism, 20th, 21st century populism began. It was essentially rumbling by the natives, and
Yep.
then they rumbled in a very inarticulate, stupid way.
Yeah. Is
And
that rumbling awesome?
mm, um, so yeah, that's well, it certainly generates awe that a group of people could suddenly attach themselves to, I mean, I could see how people attach themselves to adaptive fictions, to religious dogma and metaphysics and whatnot. But this business, well, they attached to Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Well, he did something for them. I mean, he brought the Germany back from the ignominy after World War One, and they were with him until he invaded Poland. From the time he invaded Poland, suddenly everything quieted down. But
And Mussolini got the trains to run on time. So that was awesome.
okay, well, I like your use of words, Rob. Um, of the books you've written, which one do you like the most? I'm just curious.
Well, I like Mixed Harvest. I put a lot into that one.
Okay.
It was a good book. It is a good book.
Did you ever become a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize by any chance?
The
Or
what?
were you ever nominated for a Pulitzer Prize by any chance?
A Pulitzer? Me?
Yeah, I don't know.
I am of awesomely small significance.
Yeah. Well, I happen to, are you familiar with this author? A fellow by the name of Daniel Mason. Oh,
Whoa.
can you see it? No, you can't see that because of the background.
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of my background
Uh-oh.
in a moment. Whoops.
Oops. Wait a minute.
Yeah, not that. I want the video. I just don't want this.
Okay. This is a bullshit phone call from Oakland, California. Yeah,
Okay,
smell.
this is the book I'm talking about. Oh, it's still
It
not coming out right.
North Woods.
North Woods by Daniel Mason. I
I
wonder
don't
if
know
you're
it.
familiar with it. Doesn't ring a bell with you?
There were 5 million books published in this country, not in this country, in America last year.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
5 million. Wow.
And
it's an ocean out there. Awesome.
and as Christopher, who's the famous atheist? Christopher, what was his name?
Hitchens.
Hitchens?
Yeah.
Christopher Hitchens once said, in everyone, in every person, there is a book. And in most cases, that's where it should remain. It's Christopher, yeah. That's
I have
a
a cartoon of a X-ray of a guy's stomach, and they said, "We have discovered there is another book inside you."
oh, that's good. That's funny.
Hey
Well,
guys,
we
I've got to go.
Yeah,
But
I gotta go too.
it's been fun. Um, see you next
It's
month. And Rob, with
see you next month, and I really hope that I can figure out what's going on here with this. Been using the same computer for a year, and
well,
had no problem here in previous Zooms.
your audio now is quite good, but you might get a headset. Like just even headphones and a simple little cable thing. But
Okay, so that's an interesting question. I'm sounding good now?
yeah, no, it's quite
you're
clear.
fine right now.
Maybe it's the fact that there was so many people in the meeting. Maybe it wasn't.
Hmm. That doesn't sound plausible. No.
Sure, it just wasn't able to transmit all the bits for the sound properly.
Well, Diane was having trouble
I don't
too.
think so. But
It's
what
just
do I know? Yeah.
It's
okay.
All right, guys. Hey,
the gods
signing
are
off.
angry.
It's been a pleasure. See
It's
you
been a
next month.
pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Ken.
Take care.